Right, good morning, everybody. Welcome. This morning we are talking about resilience, and as things would have it, this morning I suppose the country needs a new stage of resilience. Never mind a new stage of lockdown. But anyway, that's what we have, and that's where we are. We are this morning. So, interestingly enough, I saw an amazing blog post on Friday, and if you're not following this particular author, perhaps you should, because there's some good stuff in this blog post. So let me read a little bit to you. Resilience is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, setbacks, and failures. So do it by one, enjoy the roller coaster of life. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but point two, when you are low, stop, think, and ask. Point three, don't give up. Point four, manage your energy, and there starts talking about the field of quantum physics, which, as you all know, I love. So yes, and this particular author is none other than our very own CEO, Lee Harrison. So if you haven't seen her blog post on resilience, I suggest you do. If you don't follow her, I suggest you do that as well, because there's some good stuff there. So Lee, there you go. Our resilient leader.
Ivan, I definitely will employ you as my publicist from now on. Yeah, I think it's a very relevant topic, isn't it? Resilience. And I love that word. There's something, it's so much more than stress management, or it says something. And I think the title of that blog goes something along the lines of an underestimated or an understated superpower. And I think it's because it's not flashy, it's not like charisma, it's not like leadership, doesn't have this, I was thinking my daughters have gone into their own form of lockdown, and they live together. And so what they've decided to do is to go through, you'll love this, Toby, so they're going through all the Marvel movies, but not as they came out, in their sequential order. So in there, sort of as the characters are revealed. And you do have this idea of these superheroes, and we look to superheroes to save us. But resilience says, I can do it myself. There's something within me, a power within me that enables me to lift my head above the waves, that even as the waves keep pounding, and even though I under every now and again, there is a source within me that allows me to keep going, keep paddling, keep just keeping afloat. It doesn't, sometimes all you can do is just make sure that your head is above water. And but the thing is about if you watch out all the superhero movies, they never learn their superpower. Their superpower doesn't just arrive and it's done. It's now They always have to learn it, practice it, hone it. And a lot of it has to do with believing in myself and in that power. And so resilience, I think, above all the other powers, is something that doesn't show up when you want it. It's not an automatic shield that says, okay, I'm going to be resilient now. It's something that you have to build and build and build. And it's a consistent thing. So when I talk about managing your energy, that is something that it involves simple things. Eat the right food, exercise, drink enough water. I mean, how basic are those things? But if you're not doing those things at the point when you really need resilience, when you really need to manage your energy, you don't have anything to draw on. So as I'm talking, to me, I realize it's like savings in the bank. It's painful to put that 10 Rand, 100 Rand, 1,000 Rand into your savings because you think, oh, I'm losing out. I'm not, but when you need it, it's there. And I think that's for me what resilience is. It's that ability to draw on a strength and what it is that you've built up over a period of time. At a time like this, and especially when it's over a long period of time and it's starting to wane, getting up, you don't have your regular routines. So it's even harder just to keep going, to keep doing what you need to do. But it's needed even more. That's me.
Great, thanks Lee, and welcome Rob, and welcome Laura. So Laura, you may not be aware, but we are talking about resilience this morning, and Rob, we're talking about resilience this morning, and just popped a link into the chat box, which neither of you will be able to see because you've just come into the call, on an article, which I'll pop in again, from Lee on LinkedIn on Friday, and she didn't even know that this was a topic this morning. So it was, what's the word? A bit serendipitous, I think. So there we go. So resilience is what we're talking about. So Jasper, are you resilient?
Morning. Yeah, I think after tonight's re-implementation of a level 4 lockdown, it's a very appropriate topic. And it made me think of when I did the long distance running and the comrades, and in preparation sometimes for it, when you are in the race and you plan the race and you have your markers and your milestones, it's somehow that your body adjusts and you somehow reserve your energy for the completion of this task ahead of you. But where you really need to dig deep, and I can't remember the exact way it happened, but I think I ran a race, a 42 kilometer, that I wasn't familiar with the terrain, but you end up at the same place. So it's basically the same. I didn't know that it was the same 22 kilometers, or it's that you run again. And so when it dawned on me that I have to now do this whole, and by this time I now know the field, and I have to do this whole thing again. And now you're in the middle of the race. You pain in places where that you didn't know you had places. There's no energy left in you, and you literally, 100 or 500 meters from, you might as well just quit here, because why do you want to do this whole thing again just to come to the same spot? And then to try and dig deep to say, forget about the fact that I have to redo this whole thing all over again. Just persevere. And in the end I did, but I remember how I was unhappy and I was fighting with myself for most of that second race, or second part of the race. And I think, and I don't know if you guys had the experience, I had that experience in the beginning days with computer, and you would work days on building a business model on the computer, and your mind is a bit absent, and you can remember the last thing that you saw was a flash on the screen that says, "Are you sure?" And you said yes. And there you wiped out your whole business model that you haven't saved anywhere, and you have to start again, and you have to dig deep and to say, but you don't just immediately start over again. You first get up, you then walk out, and then you talk in languages that other people don't understand. and you're really angry. And then when the dust settles, you realize, listen, what now? If you're not going to do this thing, it's not getting done. No, you can't delegate this to anyone else. It's you. And thinking of people who, right now, people are going to lose their jobs after they work 20, 30, 40 years in the industry to get to the top of their pyramid, and then to realize that through no fault of their own, their pyramid is wiped out. Now, do you have the energy left when your body ache and you're financially in stress to now repeat this whole process again? And I think that's the question that we're faced with on a daily basis, and we're going to have more of these questions to say. So the question to me is almost then, if it happened, what then makes me carry on? In the case of the race, it was I needed that specific race and that specific time to qualify for the comrades, and there wasn't another race left before the comrades. So that was that reason there. And in the case of you losing all your work and you have to start all over again, was the fact that this had to be done because it's a commitment to someone else. So sometimes it's that thing that's a bigger cause outside of yourself, because if it's just you, then it's easy to quit. But so I can encourage people, this is probably the best time ever to now focus on bigger causes outside yourself that will help you give energy, and also get your energy from somewhere, because we're going to run out of energy ourselves. But things like this and inspiration from other people is what gives us our energies. That's me.
Great. Thanks, Jasper. Yeah, some great points there. So, Tabiso, what does it mean to you to be resilient?
When I think about the word resilience, Nelson Mandela comes to mind. Nelson Mandela and his freedom fighters, I think that they created impossible, and I think that they achieved this feat because they cared more, It wasn't easy to, 27 years is no child's play, 27 years in prison for me is like an eternity, because I'm not even 27 years, Consider Nelson Mandela's life for a moment, He and the other freedom fighters were banished to an island, and they would serve life, for treason. They worked in labor camps all day, every day,
Yeah, looks like we might have lost Tabiso there. Tabiso, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Okay, maybe just switch your own video off as well, Tabiso. Let's just see if that helps.
Okay, sure. Okay, yes. As I was saying, they worked in labor camps all day, turning big rocks into small rocks, and they were harassed and they were brought, made to feel inferior. The food wasn't at all good, and the cells were too small, Solitary confinement was a part of life because he was so vocal about the rights of other prisoners, and life just carried on without him, His children died and he couldn't even see them or even attend funerals, Nelson Mandela and the other freedom fighters, they actually spent the best years of their lives, rather, their youth, confined in a cell like animals, they couldn't communicate with the outside world. And when they did, the letters were censored, There was this sort of, it's a hopeless situation, There's also the case that, all of that could have been in vain, what if people that were actually fighting for forgot them, while they rot in prison, Nelson Mandela and the other freedom fighters captured, I think that they endured a lot of suffering, they lost so much, I think that it is so easy for them to be hateful and angry, but Nelson Mandela, when he came out, he actually preached peace, when he was released. He actually preached peace and love. You know, I think he's such a great man. You know, he's a leader. He is the definition of resilience. You know, Nelson Mandela embodies what it's like to be resilient. You know, the action of getting up and fighting when you are knocked out, you know, when you are down, when things are hopeless, you know, but you fight because you have an ideal, you know, you want to achieve freedom, you want to be free, you know. I think that, wow, that's incredible, you know. He stands for doing what's right and never giving up until the end, you know. Nelson Mandela stands for victory, and he beats everything, you know. The David who actually beat Goliath, you know. He is integrity, he is resolve, he is determination, you know, he is resilience and greatness, you know. I think I would just like to take the opportunity, you know, to thank Tata, you know, and all the freedom fighters who actually dedicated their whole lives, you know, who fought for my freedom, you know, who fought so that I could be free. And I just want to express my gratitude, you know, and in saying so, I think that the word resilience is what somebody or people should actually aspire to be, you know, and we should model people like Nelson Mandela who inspire us to be great, you know, greater than our current circumstances, you know, to be something that we are proud of, you know. I think that's just my contribution on resilience today. So thank you, Ivan.
Great, thanks so much, Teresa. Yes, and what a great example to not only people here locally, but around the world. I mean, he's really inspired a lot of people through that resilience. So yeah, I'm glad you brought him up. Good. So Rob, are you with us?
Yes, I am. How are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
I'm good, thank you. You may recall that business resilience is a pet topic of mine. I actually presented, and thank you very much for loading the YouTube version up. A couple of people have had to look at it, and well, quite a few have, and tell me what an idiot I am. Thank you, mostly. No, tongue in cheek. It's about, to me, about adaptability. So we live in a very changing world, and change to a lot of people is actually frightening. It's abhorrent. It just goes against the grain. I find that businesses that have been unsuccessful in adapting to the new world we live in, the new reality, businesses have failed because they never saw it coming. They never saw, not necessarily COVID, but they never prepared for change. Adapt or die was kind of where I started my original blogs on this topic all about, if you don't. So in the words of Clem Sunter and Ilbury, are you a fox or are you a hedgehog? So the difference in the two animals is that the hedgehog, when anything happens, it curls itself up into a ball and goes into protection mode and hopes that everything will just go past. Whereas the fox is, as they say in Afrikaans, sorry about this, Dawn, op en wakker, Laura, rather, op en wakker. It means that you're looking up, you're changing, you'll go and find a new habitat. If this one doesn't suit you, if there's danger around, you'll know that how to avoid it, etc. So, yeah, so I like to help people on business resilience, and I've read tons about it, and it's fairly complicated. But in summary, to help a business with business be resilient, it has to start with the people, which is where most of you have actually talked about, are we as individuals resilient? Because if the individuals in a business are not resilient, forget it. If they hate change, you're not going to be able to run a resilient business. So mine all started off with people and then followed with process, organizational alignment, and then finally the application of technology. So people today are saying, well, if you do your digital transformation, you will then be resilient. It's only a very small part of the puzzle to get there. So, that's me. I could talk about it for quite a long time. My blog is 40 minutes, so enough already.
All right, good. Thanks, Rob. Well, maybe just pop your blog link into the chat box if you've got it handy, and we can read it at our leisure, and it'll be a good one, I'm sure. Right, so Laura, I see your cat's keeping you awake tonight, but cat got the mouse. The mouse got the tongue.
Yeah, this is true. Well, he's the whole reason for this topic. Thus, the creation of the word was what I said the other night. I know, right? Okay, just having a moment. So, I don't know anyone or anything who's more resilient than this little guy right here. Found in a cat colony. Left to fend for himself. He's got FIV, which is HIV for cats. He's got frostbite on his little ears. So hair matted, teeth falling out. Have no idea what age he is. Okay, all right. I had enough of me. Enough of me. Okay, you come back over if you like. And then when found, hair was matted, so it was shaved, and then put in a cage, not of his own volition. No one wanted him, so he was stuck in a cage for a year. If you were isolated by yourself, to fend for yourself, although you might have metal bars around you, so the external outsiders weren't allowed in or weren't able to get you, so to speak, and your teeth were falling out, you had a hard time eating, you had no companionship except save the other animals on the outside, couldn't get to you, but all those noises and the smells that you might not understand, and the lights where you didn't, no conception of what it's like to be even, and taken out for maybe an hour every other day for movement, not even knowing how to meow. Can you imagine what that must be like, and to be resilient and to having to feel like this as a predator. How does any, I don't want to say individual because it's human, to feel love and to be able to express love and to demonstrate need and want and develop a relationship and communicate love and desire, wanting to be touched. What do you know anybody, and I'll end on this, anyone, anything besides going through something like that, in everything that you've known to defend yourself out of every single thing in your being, because you know what that means, life, to see some person, it doesn't matter, and expose your underbelly with willingness and say, touch me, I love you, I need you, I want affection. For me, at least the way I understand that, is that is one of the most loving gestures or anything that I could ever imagine, is to have someone expose themselves so completely and be so vulnerable when they've experienced so much so that would negate everything that they could possibly fathom to prevent that from happening. That is a true measure of love and resilience, about the necessity of connection. And I get to experience that every day. It's a testament of life. So.
Great, Laura. Thanks. Yeah, very, very special, those things, aren't they? Comes out of hardship sometimes, and in this case, yeah, definitely. So, yeah, resilience born from hardship. I think we have 2 stories from that already. Just Jasper's running around in circles. That for me is just the first sign of madness. But but who knows? These long distance runners, Trevor, I don't know. I think they're all crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Jasper hasn't got a story about resilience, for goodness sake. Jasper, try blooming 50 miles around an athletic track, for goodness sake. I got tired on the first lap. I think 200 laps later, I said, no, forget this, because we were supposed to do 400 laps of that thing. I only got 50 miles of a 100-miler and said, no, this is stupidity. So I also got halfway and said that was crazy, but we hadn't done any training. That's another whole story. And yeah, resilience in running and doozies and long distance marathons. It really builds up over time. And because Ed Chapman wasn't here, I thought I'd go and locate his dictionary and just find the dictionary definition of resilience, which I put there in the chat: the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness. But I think they got it wrong. I think it's mental toughness. And I just loved Tobiso's sharing. You can only feel absolutely humbled when you hear the perception of a youngster that hasn't even lived the number of years that Mandela spent in prison, and how he works that story through his mind to apply to his life. So I applaud both Mandela and Tobiso in what they've done. Just fantastic. Just his sharing of what Mandela meant to him and what he was doing. And you get this sort of perception right throughout Africa, and I suppose all around the world, where people have taken up Mandela and what he did as their indication of what it means to stick at something and stick to your principles. So I was humbled by that. Thank you, Tobiso. I think for me, I woke up this morning, in fact, throughout the night, in fact, throughout the whole weekend, for goodness sake, absolutely pumped. Why? And is there something wrong with me that I actually enjoy the fact that we are being forced into lockdown? And that's, not to do away with everyone that is affected. And I've got family members that are deeply affected at the moment with COVID, so we're extremely concerned. But in my mind, I'm totally pumped that we have the opportunity to again just turn around and get back to where we were the day before lockdown, this time, in fact, about 15 months ago, last year, and then to evaluate just how much we have actually done and what the next step is. So I'm excited if individuals recognize what Rob actually talked about, that change is inevitable. It's all around you. And what this COVID-19 has done, this pandemic, has just brought all this change to the fore at rapid pace. And if you are not considering the alternatives, what you are doing today and where you are banking your future on may be completely wiped out tomorrow. That's how quick things are actually happening. So what alternatives have you got in play? And that, for me, is the excitement of the current times around the world. I think it's the greatest time in history. I've said it a number of times on these forums here, to be living on this planet and to be entering into business. And yet there are people out there that are turning around gloom, doom, etc. So we've got to have a look inside ourselves, and that's where mental toughness comes in. And mental toughness actually comes from preparation. So Mandela, 27 years. Maybe those 27 years were building him up to be the icon that he needed to become a legacy to the world. Okay, and then you start wondering whether people actually recognize through their own assessment and perceptions of just how mentally tough this individual was to be able to get himself ready to become the president of South Africa, and to actually help us through that particular transition. I mean, it stopped a civil war, for goodness sake. That's where we were going. We could have been down that particular route. And you wonder if people today actually consider how much mental toughness actually goes into being the type of person that can be iconized and can be spoken about, like Thabisa spoke about Mandela. So for me, resilience is mental toughness, and mental toughness can be built up. And it's about taking a stepping stone approach. You've got to be doing things. You've got to make things happen. And that's why I'm pumped, because I know our team is just continually doing things on a daily basis, hour by hour, just building all the time. And you know what? I know that our team at Wisdoms is pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. For goodness sake, I spent the weekend watching a youngster, Kevin Chu, who in the last 11 years in the esports, e-gaming industry, he's a Korean, made just over $1 billion for himself. And what he's doing is he's now showing content creators like ourselves how to actually set up your own tokenized coins and in the field of NFTs and smart contracts and Ethereum. What the hell is that all about? But you know what I'm doing is I'm pushing my envelope, because I believe if we don't understand this thing by tomorrow afternoon, by Wednesday, we're going to be wiped out in business. So I'm at a bit of a rush to actually get to understand all of these things, but it's very exciting stuff. So mental toughness actually allows you to be prepared when you see a crisis like this and you hear everyone on TV turn around. What now? Geez, I haven't got any alcohol now for the next 2 weeks. What the hell am I going to do? The world is coming to an end. We are locked down out of, I can't go and have my pizza at the restaurant. And yes, if you're a restaurant owner and you need to, I mean, think of Jasper and their conference facilities. They can't have people at their conference, for goodness sake. What about all of the people that can't do events? My daughter was about to get onto a plane. She still might be able to make that plane, but the difficulties to get over to France, the difficulties in getting that industries suddenly, for one decision that is built up on the basis of COVID-19 super surge happening, can completely throw all your plans out. And can completely wipe your business out. So what alternatives have you built up? I think this is the time of building alternatives and quality alternatives. That for me is what is resilience in current times.
Great, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, sure. What else can be said? I don't know that I can add on to anything that's been said this morning, but all of it is great input. And yeah, I think for me, at the end of the day, it's simply just don't accept what everybody else seems to be saying is inevitable. Don't accept it. Just look at it with a different viewpoint. Look at it with different eyes. Yeah, the rest has all been said. Adapt or die. Yeah, simple as that. So that's me. Topic for tomorrow is Personal Mastery Day. So Lee, what are we talking about tomorrow?
Well, it's interesting, you know, Tuesdays, as you're saying, Ivan, are Personal Mastery Days. And what we're doing is we're following the steps of Wisdom's Attitude Program. The Attitude Program has 8 modules. And we've had about 3 or 4 personal mastery sessions so far. And so far, of all the topics we've touched, we are let's say 20% through the first module. So just to give you an idea of all the you know, the thoughts and the huge amount of content that is held just in our first program, because attitude is only one of 6 programs. But why I'm saying that is because it's interesting that as we're following that program, tomorrow's topic is about perseverance. So I think it follows on really well from what we're talking about today, because I think it's one aspect of resilience and a really important one. So let's talk about perseverance tomorrow.
Great. Thanks, Lee. Thanks, everybody. So keep on keeping on. Persevere. And we'll see you on tomorrow. Have a good one. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.